They were told the formula was simple: study hard, work harder, stay consistent, and life would fall into place. They did exactly that. So why does it feel like the floor just disappeared? It's 7:14 in the morning. The alarm goes off, and before your feet even touch the floor, you're already checking your phone. Not because something urgent happened, just because. And in those first 30 seconds before you've said a single word to anyone, you already feel behind. Not behind on a specific thing, just behind. Like the day started without you, like everyone else is already moving, and you're still lying there trying to remember why any of it matters. That feeling has a name, and it's not laziness. Picture this. You're at dinner with friends, everyone's talking, catching up. Someone got promoted, someone else is buying a place, another one just launched something, and you're there, smiling, nodding. But somewhere around the third story, you quietly disconnect. Not because you're not happy for them, but because you're already running the same calculation you always run. Where am I in all of this? Am I okay? Is this what okay is supposed to feel like? By the time dessert arrives, you're exhausted. Not from the evening, from the math you just did in your head. Maybe that's you, or maybe you know that person exactly. Because this isn't one person's story. This is an entire generation quietly breaking down while looking completely functional from the outside. This is the psychology of millennials, born between 1981 and 1996, the generation that did everything right and still ended up burned out. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part nobody talks about. Here's what most people get completely wrong about millennial burnout. They think it's weakness, entitlement, an inability to handle pressure. But psychologists are finding something very different. This isn't about character. It's about a promise that was made and then quietly broken. Millennials grew up at a specific moment in history, a moment when the rules felt universal and clear. Study, get a degree. The degree opens doors. The doors lead to stability. That wasn't just advice, it was embedded in everything. The school system, the culture, every family dinner, every guidance counselor who ever said, just work hard and you'll be fine. And so they believed it, fully, sincerely. The problem is, the world changed, and nobody sent the update. Now, here's the part that makes this different from simply, times were hard. Imagine you're 24, you just graduated. You did everything you were supposed to do, and you're sitting in a coffee shop with your laptop open, applying for jobs that want 5 years of experience for an entry-level salary. You apply anyway. You get one response: the position has been filled. You close the laptop. You order nothing because you're watching your account. You go home and open your student loan app by accident, and you just stare at it. That's not a metaphor. That's Tuesday for an entire generation. The 2008 crash didn't just close doors, it told a generation something much darker: that the rules they'd been handed were fragile, that stability wasn't guaranteed, that the floor could disappear without warning and nobody would apologize for it. So they adapted. They took jobs that didn't fit. They stacked side hustles on top of full-time work. They moved back home, delayed everything, and kept going. Not because they wanted to, because the math didn't work any other way. And here's the bitter irony. They did all of that without complaining, because complaining felt like weakness, and weakness was a luxury they couldn't afford. They were told to chase success. Nobody told them what happens when you catch it and feel nothing. They didn't fall behind. The timeline broke. Here's where it gets psychological. When the brain expects a reward and doesn't receive it, it doesn't just feel disappointed. It enters a state of chronic low-level stress. Researchers call this cognitive dissonance, the tension between two realities that can't both be true at the same time. Reality 1, I did everything correctly. Reality 2, things still didn't work out. The brain can't hold both without looking for an explanation. And here's the dangerous part. Most millennials didn't blame the system. They blamed themselves. Maybe I'm not working hard enough. Maybe I made the wrong choices somewhere. Maybe I'm just not good enough. And that loop, it never stops. Not at work, not at night, not even when you're supposed to be resting. You close the laptop and it's still there. You try to sleep and it follows you. You're at a birthday dinner. laughing with people you love, and somewhere underneath, quiet and persistent, it keeps running. That's not weakness. That's what happens when the brain runs on hope deferred for too long. Now imagine this. It's a Sunday evening. You open your banking app, not because you want to, but because you have to. Rent, food, loans, 3 subscriptions you forgot you had. You stare at what's left, and you think, is this what working this hard is supposed to look like? You close the app. You open Instagram. Someone your age just bought a house. You close Instagram. You stare at the ceiling. And you don't feel sad exactly. You just feel like something doesn't add up. Like you're playing a game where someone changed the rules halfway through and forgot to tell you. They didn't fail. The system changed. And then one day, something stranger happens. You wake up. Nothing is wrong. The sun is out. You slept okay. Nothing bad happened. And that's when it hits you. Nothing feels right either. Not bad, not good, just flat. And that quiet emptiness scares you more than the hard days. Because at least on the hard days, you feel something. Psychologists call this emotional numbness. It doesn't arrive dramatically. It builds slowly, so slowly you don't notice it happening until one day you realize you can't remember the last time something genuinely excited you. Not because life is objectively bad, but because the brain, when overloaded for long enough, starts protecting itself. It turns down the volume, not just on the pain, but on everything. You're not broken, you're overloaded. And there's a real difference. Here's what should make you stop and think. Millennials are, by every psychological measure, one of the most self-aware generations ever studied. They read about therapy. They understand cognitive bias. They can name their anxiety and trace it back to its source. They understand everything, except how to get out. Because awareness is not the same as freedom. You can see the cage clearly and still be inside it. You can name the loop and still be running it. And that gap between knowing and escaping is where a lot of millennials quietly live, not lost, operating on outdated rules. Because this generation didn't just inherit financial pressure, they inherited something no previous generation had to carry: social comparison at a scale that simply didn't exist before. Every single day, they open a phone and watch a curated highlight reel of everyone's life at once. Someone their age buying a home, someone younger building a company, a colleague posting about a promotion, an engagement, a vacation that looks like a film set. None of it is the full picture, but the brain doesn't process it that way. The brain sees it as evidence, evidence that everyone else figured it out, evidence that you're the only one still trying. And even when you know, intellectually, that what you're seeing is filtered and carefully edited, the emotional weight hits anyway. That's the trap. You're not measuring your life anymore. You're measuring it against everyone else's best moments. And that is a race designed to have no finish line. So here is what this really comes down to. Millennial burnout isn't a personal failure. It's a structural response to a structural problem. A generation was handed a map, and they followed it precisely, with discipline, with sacrifice, with genuine belief. And at some point, the map stopped matching the territory. The roads had moved, nobody said anything, so they kept walking, getting more tired, more confused, more convinced the problem was somehow them. It wasn't. They were running the right race, on a track that had already been dismantled. And here's what should actually frighten you. The real danger isn't the exhaustion. The real danger is that you get used to it, that the numbness becomes the baseline, that fine becomes the ceiling, that you stop expecting things to feel good and just start expecting them to be manageable. Because that's the quiet version of giving up, not dramatic, not obvious, just a life that slowly becomes smaller than the one you were capable of. And the generation that was promised everything ends up grateful for just enough. That's not the ending this story deserves. And deep down, they know it. They've always known it. They just got very good at pretending they didn't. If this hit you, don't scroll. Sit with it for a second, because the moment you swipe past this and go back to the loop, that's exactly how it continues. Quietly, without drama, until one day, fine stops feeling like enough and you can't remember when it started. Leave a comment. One word if that's all you have. And if you want to keep understanding the psychology behind the world around you and behind yourself, This channel is where that happens. Because next, we're looking at a generation that grew up with the internet in their pocket from day one, not as something new, as something obvious, and what that did to their brain, to the way they feel, the way they compare themselves, the way they search for their place in the world, goes much deeper than anyone realizes. The most connected generation in history, and maybe the loneliest one.